Good afternoon. This is the Danny and Paul Show. Welcome, Coach Danny Abkar. And today we have a special guest, Tracy Currington, who is the guru of gurus when it comes around to restaurants. And you know what? The cool thing, I love restaurants. I like food, but I come from the restaurant industry way back early in my career. I worked at a Mountain Jackson, Detroit, in a gourmet restaurant. I also started off as a prep cook and a cook at a drive-in, and I also was a car hop. How's that for fun? So,
Whoa.
whoa! So I have a good feeling for restaurants. I love what Tracy does because I'm really interested in restaurants because I go to so many and I see everybody just kind of sitting, not a lot of promotion going around, not a lot of stuff. And I'm really curious how you fix that, Trace. I'm going to leave it up to you.
I love it. Love it. Well, thank you guys very much for the invitation to be on your podcast, to be a guest here. I'm so excited. Got to see a couple of your episodes too. You guys are doing an amazing job, and I know you've got a good following. So congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
You know, I once worked at Taco Bell. I stirred up the meat.
How long did you spend at Taco Bell? Employed
Well,
at
about
Taco
2
Bell?
weeks.
That's I was going to say that's 1 week longer than the typical person spends at Taco Bell.
Yes, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I would love to start at just kind of giving an insight about my story. I came in, quick service was never something I wanted to be involved in. And so my LinkedIn profile says I'm the quick service king. And but quick service truly up until 2016 was not what I wanted. I was in food service, but I was in like 4-star dining, 5-star dining, things like that. I was in the, I'd cook up the steaks. We'd use a bandsaw, cut the steaks. And so I knew a lot of that side. I was 19 years old and I was leading my first 4-star restaurant in the greater Cincinnati area. And I came into the space of food service in that side, in a full service restaurant. I came to it by way of Kmart. So if you remember Kmart, right? So I was in retail, first official job. So the funny thing is, I wanted to get a job at a Perkins. And so if you remember, so Perkins in the kind of the northeast side of the country, and some of it, I guess, down in Florida area. But I wanted to get a job at Perkins, and they wouldn't hire me. And he asked me the question. Here I was dumb. I was like 15 and a half. He's like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I was blown away by the question. I never even thought about that. And so I've always to this day thought, I wonder if I didn't get that job because I had no idea what I was going to do for the next week, let alone where I was going to be in the next 5 years. So Kmart, there was a lady that I knew that worked there that gave me a recommendation. They hired me at Kmart, worked there for about a year, and then I transferred to a TJ Maxx. I was going upscale, right? I was going higher, and I worked at a TJ Maxx for about 4 months, and that was a long time, as a 16, 17-year-old. And then there was a restaurant where a buddy of mine was working, and he was making $5.50.
Holy cow!
$5 an hour. And so at the time I was making like $4.05, and so I was like, man, $5.50, that's big time, right? So I was like, okay, I'll take the interview. So I took the interview, got the job at $5.50, and told my boss at TJ Maxx, and she's like, well, we could pay you $4.15, like a 10-cent raise, 10-cent boost. And even then I knew that was no money. So I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to go to this. So I was in the dish tank. I was the dish doggy dog, right? So I was busting suds in the dish tank and learned a lot of things that was never taught to me at home from the restaurant, from food service, the kitchen, and a lot of things that probably my mom and dad did not want me to know. And so anyway, but I made a lot of friends there, connections. I worked there. The first night I was there making $5.50, the boss came in, and he was kind of always coming to the kitchen drunk, and he kind of leaned into the counters like, what's your name? And that kind of thing. And so I told him and shared it. He's like, you need to be making $4. Hey, he called up to the chef and said, this guy needs to be making at least $6. So I got a raise the first night there, 50 cents boost. About 3 months into that, they transferred me. They said, would you like to go over and make $7.50 an hour across the river in Kentucky? So I went over to Kentucky and I led the dish tank over there in that one, but was there for about 3 months. And then they started doing lunches. And they said, well, why don't you come in? We'll train you on the kitchen side and you can do our new lunch menu. Just launching that. I was the only one there. So I'm running 5 stations and the dish tank, running lunches and doing the prep for the night coming up. So I did that for about another 3 or 4 months. And then they said, well, why don't you come in and we'll let you run the entire night shift. So here I was, 19 years old, leading guys that were in their 40s and their 50s, had nothing but food service industry. And here I was like 2 years into this. And so anyway, he gave me, I think his name was Tom McClanahan, and the restaurant was El Coyote. And I'll never forget that, because Tom was the guy that he gave me the leg up that I needed in the food service industry. And from that, it took some twists and some turns. And then, in my other career working with people, another opportunity for Chick-fil-A came up. My kids were working, and I thought I need to supplement some income. So I thought, well, I'll go to Chick-fil-A and maybe they'll put me in the kitchen. I know that kind of work and everything. And he didn't. He said, I love your charisma. I love your personality. I'm going to make you the people of culture director. And so he gave me that title. I grew there for about a year, and he said, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to be opening up a new branch in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that was, we're in Ardmore, Oklahoma. And he said, so are you interested in, operating a Chick-fil-A? So I went down, did an expression of interest down in at Atlanta and at the Chick-fil-A headquarters. And everything, guys, I have to say this publicly for your viewing audience, everything that you would think Chick-fil-A is about, because what you see on social media or what you hear about, that's who they are. When you go there on the headquarters, I mean, that's what they do. So just a great, great company. Have nothing bad to say about them at all. But the only thing is, for somebody who's got an entrepreneur spirit, they only let you do one thing. And you can only do Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. And I was like, even then I knew I like to do a bunch of things. And I don't want to do just Chick-fil-A. So I knew that wasn't going to be it for me. So I rescinded the expression of interest. And I love the people aspect of it. And I love helping a restaurant, but I don't want to be in there making the chicken. So from that launched my coaching business, and my coaching business niching down and really getting familiar. I thought, man, you know what? People in the food service just respond to my coaching. They respond to my style. I know their pain points. And what I look at them right now is I look at them as the most underserved, underappreciated, and underdeveloped people in all of American business. And $64 billion worth of American revenue goes into the food service industry every year in quick service. So here's a guy. He messed up. Maybe he's out. He's got a record now, and this is the only job that he could get. No one's investing into him. Maybe it's a kid. He's 15 years old. His first job, 16 years old, 17 years old. And what Chick-fil-A taught me is investing into your team. And so they invest into leadership. They invest into their team. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to come alongside of quick service restaurants and even convenience stores. I mean, think about it. Like the last time you went to a convenience store, can you even remember the face of the person who, unless you're at like Buc-ee's, like maybe something like that you can remember. But the last time you went to a convenience store, do you remember the face? Do you remember anything about that? How much education are they getting? How much leadership development, team building? They're not getting much. It's usually just one person running the entire thing. And so I thought, well, I want to really help this area. And so it starts with the QSRs. I've done a lot of work with in the medical industry and helping them with their hospitality at the very front of checking in. I've helped out their front desk people. I've helped out nursing homes and their nurses, their staff in the oil field. I've done a lot of other businesses, but the primary function that I have is quick service restaurants. So that kind of give you the short of it, of where I am and the why behind it, because I want to serve these underdeveloped. I mean, they got a lot of value to offer, and they may only ever be in this position, or at least they're in this for a time. And I really want to serve them and help grow those people. And I do believe that my mantra is that the difference maker between any business and any industry is extraordinary customer service. Mm-hmm. If like Amen. Grant says, who's got my money? Well, if people have your money and you treat them like garbage, you treat them like crap, they're not coming back. You're not going to create raving fans that way. So what we do at 180 Turnarounds, which is my business for QSRs, is we increase their revenues by creating raving fans. Because the mantra is like, well, people got your money, but you got to serve them right. When you give them customer satisfaction, it's the wrong target. Search for customer amazement. I mean, because you give somebody a remarkable experience, when they leave, they're like, I can't wait to come back. And when I come back, I'm going to bring somebody with me. And that's how you can create the raving fan. Raving fans got your money, revenues go up. Should be as simple as that. I found that it's not always as easy as that, but it should be as simple as that. That's the formula.
Yeah. So how do you get these raving fans to show outwardly to other people? How do you get that like recorded and out there in the media, right?
Okay, so I mean, are you asking like when they come in, how do you create a raving fan?
More like how does the business, the business created a raving fan, and I love this restaurant. Do you then point the raving fan to like, please post on social media about your experience, or how do you help that raving fan bring more business?
Yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah, great question. Through social media is a great platform, and I think when you have a raving fan, they've got a voice, but you've got to give them a microphone. And what the beautiful thing about social media has done is it's created a platform where you can launch out asking these things. And the cool thing about social media is you're always going to get that like Grant talks about, you're always going to get that hater. You're going to you've arrived when you got a couple of haters, because they're driving traffic to your social media and your platform and everything, because they're just looking for you to something that they disagree with. And the cool thing about a raving fan strategy is when you've built that, you've arrived when you don't have to shut that person down on social media. You can let them stand because 400 other people came to your defense and were singing your praises, like, what's the matter with you? I can't believe you say that about my favorite restaurant and everything. But giving them that voice, and there are some restaurants still that do not have a social media imprint. And the reason they don't is because they don't want bad press. They don't want bad publicity. They don't want somebody to say something bad about them. And so my business model is, first of all, we come in. So when companies hire me to come in to do a full turnaround, a 180, right, to go in the right direction, because we're going in the wrong direction right now. We're not making the revenues. The way that we got to do a company turnaround. That requires an audit. We're going to go through all their systems. Basically, we're going to create processes and development, stuff like that. From there, we introduce what I like to call Currington culture, because the last name Currington in our community. And this was not my idea, I promise. In coaching some executive level people, they said, Tracy, so I have 8 children, and our 8 children, we have, yeah. Paul, yes, I do know what causes that. And we do not drink from any water fountains ever. Anyway, so I've got 6 of the 8 kids that were working in our area, and so like Currington, where have I heard that? Well, I mean, it's like, when you've got 40 staff members, 7 of them take a vacation and they all got the last name of Currington. I mean, you took nearly, like, what was that, 20% of their labor force you've taken, out of it. But when people got around Chick-fil-A associated with Currington, everything, that name got out there. And so what we started doing is like, well, there's something different about the Currington family. There's a personality, there's an energy and stuff like that. So in the town, and they thought, why don't you bring your values into an organization, create the thing. So we introduced from company around to Currington culture. Then back to your question, Dani, is the community impact. We're not done until we give the microphone to the public and let them have a voice. So community impact is just a huge one. It could be, kicking for chicken on a football field from the 20-yard line. You get chicken for a year or whatever. But we're going to get into the community and make an impact. And I think that's where some businesses fail, because people want to be a part of something nowadays. They want to find meaning in what they're doing. Team members, they want to find meaning in the job they're working at. And I think, somebody let me get behind something. Let me push for something. What can I be a part of? So from the company turnaround, now we're making money. The culture, now you got people coming back because they love that culture. And now let's do something with it. And that's the long answer Miss Dani, to your question.
Love it.
Now I'm going to ask a long question.
All right, very good. Maybe I give a short answer to your long question.
We'll see if it balances.
Okay.
You know, one of the things about restaurants, and especially post-pandemic, has been an incredible shortage of employees. It's been, and I run into this in every industry that I work with. And we have had to come up with some creative ways to find A, and then to engage B, and then to, what's the word I'm looking for? Influence, but no, inspire. That's the word I'm looking for. Inspire them in some of these positions. So what's your process, Tracy, to help them find the employees that they need to keep their doors open? Because I'm up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a lot of restaurants are closing right now. They're closing mainly because they can't find the staff to keep the revenue flowing. It's not a shortage of customers, it's a shortage of staff. You see empty tables in restaurants because they're blocked off. What say you, Tracy Currington?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That's such a great question too, and the way that you put it, it is true, and it makes me sad. My wife and I were just at a casino resort this last week, and we tried to go to the most elite steakhouse that they had in there. I was going to treat my wife to a steakhouse. We come to the elevator that's supposed to go up to the top and all this kind of stuff. It's going to be really fun. This closed. And I think they have a mechanical issue there at that one, a leak or something like that, but they had to close this down. This is high ticket, and they're losing a lot of revenue. Then they said, well, why don't you go try this one? We went over there. They're closed because of staff. They said, well, why don't you go over here to this one? We went to the third one, closed because of staff. And that very day that we were there, they had just opened up kind of like a food court type thing. And it had been five team members from the casino in total there. And so to your point, yeah, I mean, like, and thinking about this, okay, so like, why can we not, like, hey, where do you find your good people? Like, they would always ask that of Chick-fil-A, where do you find your good people? And I think you find them, we were fishing from the same pond. And Paul, your question began with the process. And I think that's where it's at. I was in Miami, and Jared Glant was, I happened to do the tour going through the headquarters there for Cardone Enterprise. And Jared Glant was talking on the phone with his sales. He was making a sales call, and he said, stop trying to find great people. Stop trying to find top talent. They already got jobs. There's more good people out there than great people. He said, what you need to do is build great processes. Build great processes and introduce your good people into a great process. They'll become great people. And it was like this, like, I was sitting there, and I don't think everybody else is just, taking pictures, selfies, and stuff. And I was listening. And when he said, I was like, man, this mind-blowing thing that's so true. And so the company turnaround, we've got to start from the internal. That infrastructure has to be right. Most companies have broken processes, outdated processes. They don't have any processes. And so when a team member, if they do get that one that'll kind of give them a chance, that person comes in 2 weeks, they're bouncing like Taco Bell, right? They're bouncing after 2 weeks at Taco Bell because there was no training for them, right? There was no training. There was no process. They didn't even, like, nowadays. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I went into a company and I said, so tell me about your onboarding system. What does orientation look like? What do you mean? Like sexual orientation? Like, no. Like, how do you start an employee? How do you get them going? They didn't even have an onboarding. Like, it's just like, well, I mean, like, get on the line and we'll help you out as we go. Here's a headset. Do your best. And so they feel so uncomfortable. And I would wonder this. I've asked a lot of leaders this. How long would you work in an environment that you felt uncomfortable with? I mean, so confidence. Yeah, exactly. Confidence comes from knowing. Knowing comes from training. And so if you want them to stay, they've got to know what they're doing. And when they have confidence, then you can lead them to say, hey, welcome to Taco Bell. Or, hey, my name is, we're having a great morning here at Taco Casa. My name is Tracy. How may I serve you? You'll be able to do that over the headset with confidence because you've got them in a great process. So I know that only answers half the coin, Paul, but I think that's where I've been starting is building the process from the inside first to where when we go and we acquire talent through, maybe it's a third party like Indeed. We've actually had a lot of great through the third party Zippy app is one that I've had a great. It's just $300, and I mean every year, and I mean it rolls through it, at least in this industry, in the quick service industry. Uses like the Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor. I mean they'll use a lot of different ones to leverage, but that's the one that I found. Generating those leads, having leaders with cards. We've gotten, just like you, to your point, Paul, we've got probably 22, 24 ideas that we tried through COVID just to bring people in. Like we'll give you a taco if you'll fill out an application. Like something like that. We've tried a bunch of those things. So yes, you're right. Getting creative with just giving somebody a chance. But if you give them a chance and they say yes to you and they say, I'm going to join, and then you don't have any process to lead them through, they're bouncing.
Well, I think it's interesting because like I said, I started off as a short order cook at a restaurant. I ended up in a gourmet restaurant in Detroit. I was an assistant chef, and the thing was there was almost a path laid out for me before, honestly. Before I got too fat and decided I needed to get in the Navy because I was too good a cook. So
you're eating your own product.
I loved eating my own product. That was for sure. I was like, I can't be in this industry. I'm going to explode or push maximum density before I'm 30. So I had to get out at 20. But point being is, like, I work a lot with the construction industry right now. And one of the creative ways we came out with was actually getting a feeder program into the high schools for the trades. Okay, so he went and met with the superintendent of schools, worked with the high school. They actually built a program for the trades that fed into the company. We used to have at the school I went to in high school, we had the vocational program. Like, I could program 5 computer languages by the time I graduated from high school. So going into those areas and maybe a culinary program, because I know lots of people that want to become chefs.
Yeah,
there's a pathway there. It doesn't stop at the quick service restaurant. See, I knew what QSR was, but it doesn't stop there. There's a pathway, and I think that's one of the big things for any industry right now. Is it used to be you hired for a paycheck. Now you hire for a direction and to belong to something.
Yeah. Like they don't want to go in and work a job. They want to find meaning. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What are we trying to accomplish here? And there's think about it, like, what's the vision for, like, if you went into a McDonald's GM, what's their vision? Like, where they're going? Where are you guys going? They're stumped. Like, where are you taking this business? So I'm glad you brought up the high school thing. Chick-fil-A, of course, they kind of lead the industry in serving. I've got 3 of my kids that have had their college tuition paid for through Chick-fil-A. And so by working there, there's like a $2,500 bonus that they tack on, that you can go to college. And so 3 of my kids have been awarded that in our Chick-fil-A, just growing in that company. And I think that's a great opportunity. Maybe there's not a lot of push from that from other restaurants, but I think coming into, like, having an LDP where you're adding value into we were asked a couple of times from the trade school, like, how can you come to our kids how to dress for an interview, what questions are going to be asked, how to conduct, how to respond to the questions. And so that was a great opportunity, but that wasn't us leveraging it. It was actually them coming to us and saying, hey, can you help us out? I think that's a great opportunity also.
Yeah. Can you define LDP for our audience?
I'm so sorry. So a leadership development program. I helped there's one of my clients that I work with, and she's the general manager for a quick service restaurant, and the owner has 2. And her stats have just gone through the roof since we've been working together the last 2 years. She started at a 14-year-old LDP. So, like, basically, if you're 14 years old, no one wants to take a chance on you, but you want to work a job. You're kind of in that weird stage, 13 to 15, right? I mean, like, man, I want it. I'm done with, throwing newspapers or babysitting or mowing lawns. I want to do something big. And so anyway, so she's got a program where she can put, I think it's 5, that she can put 5 14-year-olds staffed on her team. They can only work, 3 hours at a time and stuff like that, and maybe 3 days a week. So she puts them on there, and she has talks with their parents. So the mom and dad are totally on board. They know what they're doing, know what the kids are doing. Well, because she built this program, I coached her with the program. The Choctaw Indian Reservation found out what they were doing, and they're like, we would love to funnel people through your program. And they don't have to work there, but we'd love to bring 14-year-olds. And so she'll have like a meeting, and like 25 14-year-olds will come into the dining room after school one time and have some tacos or whatever. And she gets to kind of add some value into them. And so, like, to your point about growing that pool. So now she's got a whole stream of 14-year-olds just waiting till they turn 15 to where they can apply.
Yep. Feeder program.
Yeah.
Every coach loves them.
Yeah. I love it.
I'm sorry. Did I say feeder program on a restaurant show?
Look at you. Look at you. And then I got to say, Tracy, I love that you brought up, Paul brought up processes. He is the process guy, and I am not. I am more of the creative side of things. Not that Paul's not creative, because he definitely is. But I was like, oh, that also just fed right in. I wanted to share a little bit on you guys brought up processes, and that a lot of these QSRs don't have processes in place. So there is an AI that could potentially help, and it's scribehow.com. It was founded by a woman named Jennifer Smith. She's a Harvard woman, brilliant. And if there's anything that's on the computer that anybody needs to do, or let's say, like how to input, information of what people order into the system, if they have these systems, right? It will actually document everything and put it into a step-by-step guide. So it automatically creates it. It's just a browser extension that you can put in, and it's free to use. So I just wanted to send that out to the
what a bonus. When you that's awesome. So when you were saying that, so you're familiar with EOS, the EOS system, okay.
Yep.
I have the book around here somewhere.
I traction, rock fuel, how to be a great boss.
Yeah. I got my EOS book along with my Sanders book, along with my Challenger. Yeah, I've got them all.
I got the 3-ring binder too.
I got that too.
I have the Sanders.
So there's so much brilliance in there, and especially in this industry. So we started doing level 10 meetings for a quick service, and like just tracking the numbers, having their GMs know what those numbers are in connection with what the bigger picture is, and so forth. And so examining the rocks, the individual rocks, and everything. What are we going to do this quarter? And there's very few that are doing that, because they're not. I mean, there's one QSR that I've got in the pipeline here to work with. They don't even have a GM. I mean, imagine. Like, there's nobody accountable for that store except for the regional director, and he's got 6 locations he's trying to operate. So he's having to come 2.5 hours one way, 3 times a week, just to provide some kind of leadership. And so, like, as far as the processes, when you're talking about that, I was thinking about, man, if you had that AI going through the IDS part of the level 10 meeting, when you got the level 10, you're doing the check-in, you're checking out all the numbers, you're doing, what's happening with the people and so forth. And then you go to the IDS, is they identify, discuss, and solve. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you're going through that, I was thinking about that AI for that part right there, because there's so much brilliance that comes in. What's the real problem? Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. And then let's solve it once and forever. What a great opportunity to have that AI capture all of that brilliance right there. Great takeaway right there. I'm actually going to share that brilliance with some of my clients.
No writing notes during the. I'm sorry. You'll have to pay $59.95 for that later. That's brilliant that you brought up EOS, but we want to definitely identify, because not everybody knows what EOS is. And
Yes.
it's just a really another fundamental platform for managing your business through projects. I mean, I heard Tracy talk about rocks, and those are 90-day goals, and then they're milestones, and then there's the tasks that are involved in getting those rocks done. So it's just another way of putting process to planning, and then the most important part, which I'm all about, is executing. That's what this is about,
Yeah.
right? It's about knowing your numbers and executing on your plans. And I don't care if you're a restaurant or you're a multi-billion dollar organization, it's the same fundamental processes to get that stuff done.
Mhm.
And you said one of my favorite words, Tracy, is capture. That is one of the
Mm.
biggest things that we all fail at, is capturing not only our thoughts, but the problems. One of the things I did as a VP of sales is, if you had a problem, if there was a problem with the process or you ran into an issue, you write the problem down, and then you come
Yeah.
up with two solutions before you come to my office. Right?
Yes.
Or if we're going to do the IDS, you come with a
Yep.
boatload of solutions, right? So now we
Yep.
have something to discuss. Yeah, the system's
Yeah.
broken or the process is broken. And I think this is a better way to work at it. And it makes that stuff
Mm.
grow and get solved much quicker, to your point.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing, just an additional thing to add on to that, is the fact of accountability. Because, like, okay, you did not commit. Is it done? Yes or no? I mean, like, it's just a yes. There's no emotion to it. It is either yes or it's no. And then, like, if it goes, it's going to go into the red column pretty quickly. If that
Then there's
supports
the
a lot.
why.
What's that?
Then there's the why.
Yes. So why
Because
is this not getting?
it should never get into the red column. We should know
Yeah.
that it's not going to be done and figure out what we need to do to get it done before it gets in the red column. So
Yep.
that's the
Yep. Now it's
communication that
become an
comes along with
IDS.
EOS. Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. So
That's
awesome,
great stuff.
awesome stuff. So last and final question, because I know we're running out of time. Tracy, I'm a restaurant. I'm a brand new one. I'm just getting going. I got my stuff. I got my staff. I'm a new entrepreneur entering into the restaurant industry, and as you know, that 95% of restaurants fail before the first 5 years
Yeah.
ends. So I'm a new and budding guy, and I need help. What's the first thing? The first 5 things that you're going to tell me I need to pay attention to as I'm opening this restaurant?
Well, I first of all, I think I'd start with your foundation. Your foundation is your core values. Why are you doing this? I mean, why not work for another restaurant? Because there's plenty of restaurants out there. You could work one. You could partner with others. Why do you want to own and occupy your own? And just getting really clear about that. And I think supporting that with your core values, because your core values are going to produce your culture.
Yep.
And people don't want to come back to a place of, or like, I think it's been said, people are interested in someone who's interested in them. And if your core values don't somehow surround people, connect with people, then you're not going to be in business very long, because people got your money. And so the first thing that I would wrap around is, like, what's your why? What's your big, the reason why you're in business, your mission. And that's not necessarily your mission. Your values are at kind of the foundation. Then you got your vision, like where I'm going. But people see is they
He's got us hanging on the edge.
So just to recap, we have our values.
Yeah, our mission, vision, and values. All right.
Right.
We're going to recap, and we're going to draw those in, because people, what they see is your commitment to your vision. I bet you that might be what he was going to say, but he did leave us quite suddenly. Or that's a really good picture, actually. So
Yeah, I know, it never happened to us, and we were like,
oh my gosh. So, all right, that's really good. I think we'll let Tracy go wherever he's gone into the Ethereum, And I think today was a great show. I had a good time. I learned a ton about the quick service restaurant. Oh, he completely left now.
Okay.
And very exciting stuff. So we are going to be back here. Oh, go
I
ahead,
was just
Danny.
gonna say, so to find Tracy, you can go to 180 turnarounds. So the number 180 turnarounds.com to find Tracy.
Yep. He is the king of QSR restaurants. So it's been a pleasure, Danny. Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure,
Thank you to
Paul.
everybody watching.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.